discussion will revolve around the technological necessities to uplift God's own country. Our moderator for this session, Mr. Pradeep Palazhi, is an entrepreneur, technocrat, and an engineer by training with a major in computer science from Trichy Engineering College. He's the co-founder, COO, and CTO of Loyal Healthcare LLC, and the founder, president, and CEO of Value Add Solutions. He was the COO of CashNet, co-founder and COO of Wink EC Media, COO of American HealthNet, and vice president of product management with Triple Point Technologies. He also serves as an advisor to numerous technology companies in India and the US. I now invite Mr. Pradeep to further introduce the panelists of this discussion.
Good morning, everyone. Today we have a distinguished panel here for our session on emerging technologies to rebuild Kerala. Starting with Mr. R. Muralidharan, CTO of SED, Strategic Engineering Division of Tata Power Company, which is a important player in the defense sector in India. So he has 38 years of experience after his engineering study in Trivandrum. He went on to he's a senior member of IEEE, a system engineering professional in computer and communication engineering, and as I mentioned, he is currently the CTO of Strategic Engineering Division of Tata Power Company. He is a 1977 electronics engineering graduate from College of Engineering Trivandrum and postgraduate in electrical engineering from IIT Mumbai. He was in 1987 invited to become member of Distinguished Young Scientists by Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi, then Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi. He has been IEEE volunteer for 40 years. He is a past chair of IEEE India Council and Mumbai section. And he is currently a vice chair of the Wireless Innovation Forum. And he has co-authored many papers on system engineering, SDR, and many other areas. He is currently in the project review committee of IIT Mumbai, and he is a member of Academic Council of SNDT University and a member of the Board of Governors of GHRC. Happy to introduce. Thank you. We have Karthikeyan Subramaniam, Chief Innovation Officer at Suyati Technologies with 16 plus years in experience in projects in social media, cloud, SaaS applications, e-commerce solutions, CMS, proven track record of building and delivering technically complex solutions, and extensive knowledge of technical problem solving skills, and proven track record of ideating and implementing multiple projects. He previously worked with Microsoft, HCL, and Sigma Micro before joining and leading the technology team at Suyati. Happy to introduce Karthik. Mr. John Santhosh is an entrepreneur and researcher. He has currently his experience is in banking and government sector primarily. He's an electric engineer by education, working with ABB and Oracle Financial Services for 15 years before he started the entrepreneurial journey. He joined IIM Bangalore in 2008 as CEO of ERP Research Center, post his corporate life, and during his time he has helped South African Post Office become a postal bank. He was also part of the EY team that was involved in providing consulting services to India Post for setting up the India Post Payment Bank. He has set up 2 companies and running them currently: Geom, an operational excellence software product used by over 40 banks globally, and BillionLives, a software product company working in the area of impact tech. Happy to introduce Mr. Johnson. The last panelist introduced Mr. Rahul, the founder of CloudSek. He's an entrepreneur, security expert, and a white hat hacker. He's founder CTO of AI-based digital risk management company, CloudSek. He has presented his papers in 28 different forums in 18 different countries. He was listed among the top influential Indian security researchers in 2015 by the null community. Prior to founding CloudSek, he was a senior engineer at Citrix. Happy to introduce Mr. Rahul. Our topic today is, for this panel is emerging technologies to rebuild Kerala. So each of the four panelists here will be covering different angles related to rebuild Kerala using emerging technologies. So we will be starting with Mr. Santhosh, and then followed by Mr. Rahul, Sasi, Mr. Muralidharan, and Karthikeyan.
Interesting day to start and talk about Rebuild Kerala. It's quite, for me, it's quite important and connected to me because the Rebuild Kerala portal, which is now live, is built by our company. So before going into what that does, I thought today's subject is more about rebuilding the lives of people and the sustainability of the state. If you think about it, I thought I will pick up agriculture as an area and try to build on that. Many years back, when I was studying and living in this city, we all thought we are now dependent on others to get our daily vegetables and whatever we consume today. What has happened from there to now? We felt that farming is not fancy, it is not dignified, or whatever the reason is, we all moved out of that. Now, if you look at the way that sector works, the agriculture sector works, it plays multiple roles. Not only the food security, it helps you at the time of flood when it happened here. Our cultivation, our trees, our vegetation in the city would have helped a lot if we had a base over there. So I take an example from Israel. In the 1955, one farmer in Israel could feed 15 families. Today, Israel is a country where the environment is not very friendly, the land areas are not high, but today the same farmer feed 165 families. What has changed there and what has changed here? They use the technology to ensure that they could multiply their produce. So what can we learn from that and what is possible? You cannot just take a technology from another country and put it over here. You need to really look at what works for our country and what you can learn from somewhere else. So one thing which is common in India is something called a soil card. Every farmer has got a soil card which says what is the level of nutrition on whatever is in your soil. But if you know, there are only 4,000 soil labs in this whole country. With the 4,000 soil labs, how do you ensure that we understand what is good in our soil? So that's the starting point. As we don't know what is in the soil, we just go by guesstimates. If you put this particular vegetation, it should work. My father did it, my forefather did it, my friend did it, my neighbor did it. I saw my neighbor changing from one crop to rubber. That was brilliant for him, so I'll also change. There has to be a scientific way of seeing what should you grow and how should you grow that. To start with, it is to sense what is in your soil. So how do you sense it? Soil labs are not expensive anymore. There was a time it was an expensive proposition to put a soil lab. Today, a soil testing lab is only costing 2 to 4 lakhs. So we can always think about an entrepreneur coming in the villages who can set up a soil lab over there. He will be the nodal point to say, in my area, you come to me, I'll test the soil and tell you what you have. Can he survive with just soil testing? Definitely not. It is just a starting point. And 2 to 4 lakhs is not a big number to get funded anyway from various sectors over there, various government schemes over there. Now we come to the next part of it, monitoring the growth of the whatever you're growing there. How do you monitor the growth? If I have 1 acre land or 2 acre land, the conventional thinking about it is, I should go look at my crop, whether it is a plantain or a tomato or whatever, how much I can do manually to walk around and find it. So think about it. Many years back, when we were at maybe 10, 20, 15 years back, the way to call somebody was only a landline, a phone. Today, we have very advanced way of communication. 20 years back, what did you see in the agriculture sector? That was a tractor. Today also you see a different tractor. It has not changed the way other sectors have changed. So there is definitely a need to look at what can change in the agriculture sector from the technology to make sure that the multiplier factor comes in. Now, what are the possibilities here? If you want to look at the way a plant is growing, there is something called the NDVI, the Normalized Differentiated Vegetation Index, which is a global standard, which is normalized to a level of the area you are, the soil you have, and things like that. And these cannot be measured by human eye. There's a different level at which these plants grow. So how do you measure it? You can look at drones as one thing, but it's too early for this country to bring a drone into that. But there's another solution out there. It is the microsatellites. There are hundreds of microsatellites available there, and these are available, the images of that is available for us to analyze on that. If you're able to analyze that, we are doing it, it's not a new technology, it's been in operation, and it has come to a cost level that you can consume it. With 2,000 rupees a year, you are able to calculate a daily NDVI and tell the farmer through that local entrepreneur that this particular farm is not growing as per the expected NDVI. That means you need an intervention there. What is the possible intervention? There are only 2-3 available in the agriculture sector. It could be either the moisture level of the soil, it is the nutrient, the fertilizer intervention, or a pesticide intervention. This entrepreneur locally would be the nodal point to come and see what is possible over there. So he need to be educated, or he need to be trained to a level what interventions he can do in this particular scenario. So we are giving him the second line of revenue. First was the soil testing, second now we're giving him monitoring access because he is consuming the satellite images and creating this thing. Let's take a little further. If you get to know what is to be done, now you need to get to the interventions. How do you correct it? Correction is things that you can do. Over fertilizers, over pesticides, over watering is all not good. So he has to be educated to the level. We cannot educate all the farmers every time to get to do that. Hence, this person could be a nodal factor here. Then, drip irrigation is not a new concept. It's been there for ages. But controlling a drip irrigation through an IoT, if there are IoT devices that has come which can definitely measure the moisture level of the soil. Once I know the moisture level of soil, put a LoRa network, connect the local area network over there, pump the data to an algorithm over there to see for this square area, if this is how the water content is there, can I pump more water at defined points of the drip irrigation, not like mass 10 minutes on and for 10 minutes off. Add fertilizer into the water, ensure that this is also distributed correctly. Then measure the NDVI using the satellite and close the loop. Avoid completing the right thing. Now let's take another angle to this. Government of India has come up with Fasal Yojana, Prime Minister's Fasal Yojana. What it says, if your crop fails, we will give you an insurance cover. So it is designed to protect a farmer if the crop fails. But why should the crop fail? Because we don't put any building blocks for that not to fail. So these are the building blocks to make it not to fail, so that you get that insurance cover is not needed to run the system. Now, if you look at this type of ground level micro entrepreneurships in this state, there are government schemes to get that initial funding for that. One being the Pradhan Mantri Rozgar Yojana. If you put that 2 to 4 lakhs, is definitely not a big thing for the Rozgar Yojana to come in. But for these things to make it happen, we need to change the thinking that agriculture is not a bad thing to be an entrepreneur. Everybody has to feel like only software coding and going in, sitting in an office is what entrepreneurship is all about. So that redefining the positioning and try to give the technology angle to that may be a starting point for this. Thank you.
I mean, that was a wonderful thing. I don't know much about agriculture. I'm from a software background. So before I go into how we can use technology to reshape Kerala, I want to talk a little bit more about my background. I mean, I'm from a cybersecurity background. Back in 2006, when I was doing my engineering, I got into this field and just got so passionate into it that I started contributing to open source communities and things like that. In my 4th year, which is my 7th semester, I got this internship opportunity from this large company for 6 months. Unfortunately, my college was like, you can't go for an internship for that long. So what I did is, in my 7th semester, I quit engineering and I went to work for this startup as an intern. After 6 months, they converted to me a full-time engineer. What I did during the 4 years in that company is I started picking up one or the other technology-related topics, started researching on them, and this got me as an invited to speaker to almost 18 different countries all across the world. They wanted to listen to what I was doing every year. I worked with that company for almost 4 years, 5 years actually, till 2015. And in 2015, this company got acquired for $500 million. Dollars. So at that point of time, I wanted to do something. I wanted to start building something. One of my mentors, who is Nawaz Miran, who was the chairman of Eastern Groups, he used to tell me, if you want to build value, you have to always focus on one thing. You need to start touching people's life. And if you can make a product that can touch people's life and you can make money out of it, that would be the best and most successful business. Out of this came our company. That was a pure motivation, actually. We are into the business where we help people whose credit cards and debit cards get stolen and their money gets often stifled, always. What we do is we try kind of figure out whose accounts are hacked and try to report that account back to the banks so that the banks can block these credit cards so that the individuals would not lose money. So in a way, we are touching people's life, but not too much. The main point I'm trying to make over here is what Kerala requires at this point of time is more civic startups. Startups that can impact people's life directly, and by that impact, they should be able to make money out of it. So the civic startups has got pros and cons. Obviously, I'll talk about the pros. The pros is there are companies like Change.org. I don't know if you might have heard about Change.org, right? The business model is simple. It's a platform where you can go, post about, you hate a particular administration, you hate a particular policy, you hate there's a pothole in the road, you notice that. You can you can create petitions, and you can make other people join the platform and sign those petitions, and these petitions can be handed over to the representatives. So that's what they do with the individuals. And what they do in the background is they can actually use these databases of signatories, and they sell it with the business groups. Again, in a way, they are touching people's life. They're actually helping people achieve something, indirectly making money out of it. But the main problem here is that not every startup in this, civic startups would be able to make money. I'll give you an example of a startup called Map My Neighborhood. What the company used to do was they used to create a database of people living in a particular city. The database consists of this is a so-and-so person who lives here. This is his caste. This is his food-related interest. This is his personal habitats. Because different communities have different interests, right? So they used to create the map of those individuals. And their idea was so that they can sell these databases to cities. Unfortunately, cities, they didn't care about these databases. They cared more about a crime-related database or how they could solve water management in a city, et cetera, et cetera. So that business model doesn't work. So the whole idea is to find startups or come up with startups. That's where the ecosystem also has to help. Encourage startups who has got a strong business model, at the same time can touch people's life. It can be a very simple thing. It can be something which helped your parents. It can be something which has helped 10 people in your neighborhood. But if you can make 10 rupees out of that, that's going to be a very successful and a very, very, very much helps a state like ours grow. To add to that, so that's the whole point I'm trying to make. Civic startups is what we need, and this is what that's the support this ecosystem needs to provide for entrepreneurs who comes up with that. I think you had a proposition for that, right?
Definitely.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
It's just good noon, maybe a few minutes to get the noon. First of all, thank you for giving me an opportunity to share my thoughts here. The basic thought is make in Kerala for the Indian defense. That's the theme I want to share with you. So before that, a few things, a couple of sentences about me. 1975 was the first time that they had a Fortran programming course in College of Engineering in Trivandrum, and I was one of the first participants who successfully passed the test. So I can say I was the first Kerala programmer. So now can I ask you a question? Who was the world's first programmer? Most of us earn our living on programming and computer science and software coding and testing. But who was the world's first programmer? It was a Lady Lovelace, who was the programmer for Charles Babbage. Charles Babbage was a great engineer who could build the analytic engine, but he did not know how to program it. He had a logic, he understood the instruction set, but he could not bring in the logic and write the program for that. So she was, Lady Lovelace was a widow, Lord Byron's daughter, and she was finding it boring to lead a life as a widowed lady. So her father, Lord Byron, contacted Charles Babbage and said, she's a good logician, maybe she can help you. So she learned the instruction set in a very short time and started programming, and she's the first programmer. So I always tell my wife too is a programmer. I said, before you, she was the one, but before me, there was nobody in Kerala. Thank you. So that was the start of it. So I left Kerala 77, went to Bombay to study computer science in a more detailed manner. That gave me the interest to study programming was in the blood. I said, yes, let me go ahead and study that. And after that, I joined the Tata group, which was working in defense. And this was a chance that we started working in defense because we were trying to make electronics and computers for the country. And we found out that the imported things were much cheaper than what we were building indigenously. So our management took a decision to close down the operations and say that we will do something else. At that time, India had a nuclear implosion in Pokhran, and most of the developed countries had put sanctions on India. So they said, now if there are sanctions, they will not even give us a microprocessor, right? Nothing of the computing elements would be sold to India for the Indian defense. So the government of India told our management that, look, you as a Tata Power, stealthily can you develop computers for the defense? And we will pay you what it costs you, right? No profit, but we'll pay you what it costs you. And we were a team of good people, and we said, okay, we will try and do that. That's how we started in the early 80s to develop computing systems, onboard computers, missile computers, etc. So today we are a large group. We have a huge factory in Bangalore, doing a lot of work for the Indian defense. Okay, now coming back to the theme that we want to talk about, we are talking about Make in Kerala for the Indian defense, right? So first question is, like any entrepreneur will ask this question, is it worth it? What is in it? What is the business case like, right? So India is the largest importer of weapon systems in the world. We spend $50 billion a year to import systems, right? 70% of our requirements are imported. Even the simple ammunition for a tank is imported, right? You might have, today there's a lot of news about Rafale aircraft being imported. We are yet to make aircraft, but we make a lot of ships. But all the ships' internals are imported. The hull and everything else is, we make it here. Just beyond, for your information, right here in Cochin shipyard, the first indigenous aircraft carrier is being built. Okay, and my company, and in fact I am the chief architect for the compact management system for that. So we are proud of it. So there are a lot of things that we are doing here, but is it enough? Answer is no. 50 billion we are spending a year to import weapon systems for the country. So if only we can do it indigenously, okay, imagine the number of employment we can provide to the Indian citizens, to a few of us, okay. So it's very, very large. So any developed economy is working on defense exports. So they want to have some war somewhere, right? So all the diplomacy is all about creating war somewhere so that they can sell the arms. And that's how they will live, right? Because nothing else sells at your need, okay? Second, the imported items that we have in our defense, okay, this is within those walls, please don't quote me, is old technology. They never give you the latest technology. Right? So we always get old technology items at a very high cost to defend ourselves. Right? Why can't we defend ourselves? It's a mindset that we have to change. The government is trying to change. The earlier defense minister was A.K. Antony. Okay? In many forums I have told him, and no, we should encourage this thing. So he created this concept of saying that we should reverse the ratio of import to export. Import to indigenous. 70% we should make here. It will create a lot of employment in India. And the ancillary industries will really grow. right? But it's still called Make in India, but we are not doing anything. But at least in Kerala, let's start Make in Kerala, right? Now, the moment you talk about Make in Kerala, we are not talking about a missile, or we are not talking about a huge rocket or a shell, etc. There are a lot of things that needs to be the infrastructure for manufacturing, right? So rather than that, if you look at all the trend in technology, it's all software defined, right? So everything has a large amount of software. The Premier Padmini car that we had never had a single piece of line of code, okay? The only thing electronic was the left-right indicator, flasher. That was electronic small chip which used to indicate left and right when you put the signal on. That is the only thing electronic in the Premier Padmini car that was there for a long time, the Ambassador car for a long time. Today's cars have 20 million lines of code in it. 20 million lines of code in it. It's running a car. This is in addition to the infotainment system in a car, right? So what does it say? It says that a lot of software is getting embedded in each and every system. So is it an opportunity for us? Yes. So that's where we in Kerala, who are the biggest or rather largest literate state in the country, can contribute intellectually to developing these new solutions. Why? Because, as I told you earlier, no developed country will sell the latest technology to India. Okay? Now, it's getting less and less hardware. Hardware is just forming a stock piece of computing device on which the majority of software is going to decide what function is going to be, right? So you might have heard of the software-defined networking, software-defined radios, everything software-defined. In fact, I tell my wife we have a software-defined radio, those are also at home, right? In my microwave oven, I can program it the way I want it. So I call it the software-defined dosa, right? So everything is getting software-defined. That's a real big opportunity for us, right? And so one thing is, what in defense can we do? Okay, the government of Kerala, I was told, that is setting up a small defense industry corridor in Palakkad. So I'm not sure how is it coming up or how much it is there. But the 50 billion imports by India is a good reason for us to look at doing something in the defense development. Okay, maximum is in development, not in manufacturing. Production is low volume. Right? You don't make so many missiles, but developing a missile, developing a controlled missile, developing a self-guided missile has multiple technologies in it, right? So first point is everything is getting software-defined. India is importing a lot of weapon systems, an opportunity, right? And in this technology, even if it's software-defined, is it static? Is the coding always in C++ or in Java? The answer is no. It's evolving, okay? Today, we don't want to code. It's all model-driven engineering. So this model-driven engineering needs a higher level of understanding to use it, okay? Most of us started with machine language coding, then assembly language, then higher level, Fortran, PL1, came to C, C++, got stuck there. Then slowly we changed into Python and other languages, but the progression into the higher level languages is very, very slow. So then suddenly people said, why do you code in a language? Why can't you use a model? Okay, so model-driven engineering is a newer concept. Then the question comes that if I have a tank or a car, if you can see some of the YouTube videos, they'll say that a modern car with a lot of software embedded in it can be easily hacked, and I can control it from my home using a good internet connection and a nice computer, right? I can hack into the car, make it go somewhere else. That means this is the con of a technology. So I'm having a technology which can be easily hacked and changed. So I need to develop the software in a different manner, secure manner. So secure software development is another emerging technology, emerging trend, right? So why am I sharing this with you? So the defense technology is not static, it's changing. Needs are different. Okay, now when I need a software-defined system, I need a secure software-defined system. You should be able to withstand cyber attacks. Like you talked about the cyber security, that's becoming very, very big. So there are theories that you don't need an army to fight. All you need is a small, good number of hackers. Okay, if I have 100 good hackers sitting in a room, I can hack into the American tanks and weapon systems, etc., and make them fight each other and kill each other. I don't need an army. right? So this is there's a book called Army of None, okay? If you get a chance, just have a look at it. So modern warfare will be not by soldiers firing shells, it's much more intellectual. It's much more going to be involving AI and things like that, okay? So this is where the small, and if you look at the US ecosystem, who are the real creators of defense technologies? It is not Lockheed Martin, it is not Boeing, it is not General Dynamics, it's not Northrop Grumman. It's all 100-man team or 50-man teams, okay, that are agile and are technology oriented. They are the ones who are getting funding from the DARPA and doing all these developments. In turn, these are bought by these large system integrators. They integrate and create the newer solutions, right? So can we not have that kind of ecosystem built for the $50 billion that we are spending? Can not Kerala come up with those kind of startups that can do these things? The government of India is thinking in that way. There's an Army Development Board which publishes challenges. Today they have on their website 102 challenges they have posted to medium-scale industries. Okay? They are not open to large-scale industries. So can medium-scale industries take this up? Maybe there's no ecosystem in today, so that's where TiE can help. Okay? Expose these things to the Kerala entrepreneurs so that they can create these solutions, give it back to the Indian Army or Indian Navy or Air Force, as the case may be, and they in turn can use it and then subcontract those to the larger companies who can integrate into a bigger solution, right? That's the ecosystem that we may have to replicate, because a big company starting from scratch cannot create the kind of technology required for a large weapon system, which is evolving. Requirements are changing, needs are changing, etc., right? So in those technologies, the Suits already stated that data is the new oil. I don't know whether any of you heard that clearly or not. He said data is the new oil. What does that mean, right? So data is going to be more costlier than the oil that we are going to import, okay? Though the electronics imports into the country is little more than the oil, some time back. That means we are importing more electronics than oil, right? This is a very bad, or rather sad state of affairs. We don't in India make even a single chip. Everything is imported. Even a capacitor is imported. A resistor is imported, right? So, sad state of affairs, okay, that we may not be able to solve only from Kerala, right? But we can help not import those intellectual IP which goes into the chips, which is the software. Okay. They are having multiple technologies. We heard in the earlier lectures about AI, blockchain, deep machine learning, okay, industrial IoT, all of them will come. And defense is one where both machine learning and AI will be very heavily used, because everything is data dependent. Today, the Indian defense has a lot of data, but they are not tagged. They do not know what is this thing. They only have some archived, very rude way of storing the data. So there's a large opportunity to even tag data, right? And then use a ANN or a CNN, make them learn, and use it for the defense. Because that's the trend, okay? A standard algorithm cannot work. It has to be a ANN kind of thing, okay? The question is AI mature enough to work in a respectable or robust manner? The answer is no, which is also a good opportunity. So AI is just caught up. A lot of people are talking about AI, but doing less about AI. Is there a robust solution from an AI? Answer is no. AI is a new technology? No. It's 25-year-old, 30-year-old technology, right? And today it is easy to implement AI techniques because you have a better processor, more memory, better connectivity. So all those engineering in computer science is helping AI grow, but still there's a lot of maturity required for that. Okay, so maybe the education system, there are many engineering colleges. When I was here, there were only 5 of them. Now today I'm told there's maybe 100 plus. We at least have a lot of student branches, IEEE student branches in Kerala, which is very heavy. That itself shows that there are many colleges in Kerala. But the question that we ask in industry is, are these college graduates employable directly? Most of the time the answer is no. They need a finishing school, they need little more things. So that's another thing that we can help through TiE or such organizations. Can we inculcate the culture of how to absorb a technology and work. See, it is not that you should know everything. You should know how to absorb something and work. A methodology is important. Like they teach research methodology for researchers, working methodology. How can I understand a technology and do it? So we have to remember that in our lifetime, we have to change our things multiple times. What we learned is not what we are going to practice today, and that is not what we are going to practice 10 years later. So it has to be a continuous learning process. So all these skills we have to instill in our youngsters, who in turn can start up and make in Kerala for India. Yeah, the other newer things, apart from cybersecurity, AI, etc., is quantum computing, right? I don't know how many of you have heard about quantum computing. Today's computers use bits, 0 or 1. It's either 0 or 1. There's a transistor device which can either store a 0 or a 1 state, so dual state, by state. But tomorrow's computers are going to be using Q bits, QU bits, which can have 0 or 1 or both of them at the same time, because of a quantum physics phenomenon called superposition, right? So these computers are going to be the future, and they can compute much faster. All the cryptography and security that we are using today goes for a toss the moment there's a quantum computer, right? So the paradigms of programming them are quite different. So can we learn a few of that and start working on that and be a pioneer in that for the world, not only for Indian defense. China is one country which is heavily advancing in quantum computing. They have even sent up a satellite which can do quantum communication for encryption, right? They use that technology so that they, today even the US cannot decode with their best of supercomputers what China is encrypting. Because they use quantum computers and encrypt with the number of bits of encryption, not 256. Okay? They don't even state that. They're talking about few kilobytes of encryption that are coming up. Right? So there are many technologies available. We can be pioneering in them, and they don't need much of infrastructure. All they need is a willpower to go ahead and do these things. Okay? So there are such much opportunities, but the question is, how do we get exposed to them? Where do you make a start? Right? If only I know how to start, I can create a startup, right? So that's where I feel TiE and other organizations and a few of us here are volunteers. We can offer guidance or mentorship to those youngsters or those, I mean, need not be only youngsters. In fact, IBM was started by Thomas J. Watson when he was 66, right? So I have a few more years to start up a company. So was the Leela group of hotels is from Captain Krishnan Nair from Kerala. He also started 66. So 66 seems to be a good age to start a good big company. I'm waiting for it, right? So there is no dearth of ideas, but we are scared internally to, like the earlier schools were saying, you have this fear. We don't want to start something new. What will it fail? Too much big opportunities, okay? It's not like we are saying that all technology is mature and everything is ready and nothing more to do. No. Everything is going to evolve. We can restart all over again, right? Newer technologies, cheaper ones, the size, weight, and power can be reduced. See, earlier, Intel lost out on the chips for cell phones. Why? Because they had the head weight that whatever we make will sell, right? They never bothered about the power consumption of a chip. Okay? Today, we're talking about power-aware computing. Can I have an algorithm or a software code that consumes least amount of power? Can I use logical functions only to arrive at a decision making rather than using arithmetic instructions? So to that extent we are working, okay, people are going deep into it. So there is opportunity and opportunity and opportunity. It's how we look at it. Things are evolving. We are never happy. If I can do something in half a second, tomorrow I want to do it in a quarter second, right? So there is no dearth of opportunities, no dearth of business cases, right? All we need is a mind to learn new things, look at it differently, how we can achieve that, right? So with this, thank you all for your kind attention. Once again, thank you for inviting me.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I think, they have raised the bar. Let me try to, raise myself also up. Now, till yesterday, I just thought of a lot of things, what to rebuild Kerala, how to rebuild Kerala, and what are the different technologies and all those things, right? But today morning, what I thought is, I think, we should rebuild the Kerala without the Hartal. That should be our, the first thing, right? We don't want to rebuild the Kerala like 10 years back, how Kerala was. So we want to, rebuild the Kerala totally new thing and, much more advanced, much more modern, like an, Hong Kong city or like an Tokyo city or, something like that. I have, just three, suggestions in terms of technology or in terms of the problem space for, to rebuild the Kerala at this current situation. The first problem, we have faced or we are still facing after, the flood and other things that happened is the waste management. Still, we are very primitive, and you might have seen, 2 months back, the government, they have sent a, few people to Coimbatore to study how the solid waste management, it was happening. So we were jokingly telling, hey, why you guys are sending to Coimbatore? Send it to them, Singapore or some other much more advanced country to see, how that can be, brought into Kerala, not to the neighboring state and then see how they do. So still we are, that primitive. Look at the case, our how we are handling our waste management in Brahmaputram or the other places. Still we are using the land filing method. So the waste is not compressed. The other places what they use is, we are still talking about the Internet of Things, where the other countries they started using the Internet of Nano Things. It's no longer the Internet of Things is sufficient, where I would like to use the Internet of Nano Things. So that is the one area that probably the entrepreneurs can look at as an opportunity, not just in the B2B space, even in the B2C space also. Because what happened, the Kerala government, they have seen the enormous amount of waste being collected just in the Ernakulam district alone. It's 100-ton plastic waste management per day, which is very difficult to manage, right? So what the government said, it has to be handled by the neighborhood. That means if you have a villa or if you have an apartment, the apartment has to handle it. What the apartment does, the apartment burn it. Nothing much is happening. So if there is a technology that can help the waste management within the neighborhood and also at the the central common place, that's going to make a lot of difference. The second problem that we faced, even my maid was telling, hey, the biggest problem that we have is the finance. So what happened is, the chit fund finance, right? And they used the chit funds in the local area. What happened is, after the flood, that guy ran away, she lost the money. So now how do we rebuild the Kerala or, these kind of poor people with the microfinance? You know that Kerala is the first state that pioneered in the microfinance segment. But if you still look at how we are operating, still again we are operating in the old methodology of collecting the people and then sharing the information, collecting the money. And if you look at the statistics again, every year the the amount of fraud that happens in India is within the chit fund, the microfinance area is 10 billion rupees. That's a huge money that we are losing within that area itself, right? I think Mukund was in our SARS, Damodaran SARS topic, they were telling the blockchain, and Mukund was telling about the marriage example, right? So the blockchain can bring a trust. So the chit fund area, what we require is nothing but the primarily the trusted ledger, right? If there is a solution that can detect the fraud and that can avoid the fraud, that can impact the the daily lives of multiple people within the Kerala. So that is one of the other area that probably we can look at. Imagine the other problem. If you see, say my maid, she is still using the old the feature phone. It's not a the smartphone that we use. How we are going to make that life, or how we are going to make impact their lives, their day-to-day lives. There are a lot of people, they come from Bihar and other places, still they are having a primitive life, primitive phones, primitive communication. So what is the innovation that these entrepreneurs or these these startup community can bring and then impact their life, provide better life quality for them? The third suggestion, that I would like to, suggest is, after the flood and after the things, that what's the biggest trouble that we are facing is the construction. Lot of constructions that are happening in Kerala, lot of tallest high-rise buildings are coming in Kerala, but still we are using the same 200 years or 300 years method. Probably we might have, cranes and few other, devices to speed up things. But you look at the countries that in Europe or, in the American countries, what they do is they use the 3D printing for constructions. What we use for 3D printing is mostly the startup, they use it for a prototyping. But we have not brought the 3D printing for the construction field. Imagine a case where I can take a 3D printing device to a place where I can build a home or build a house within 2 days, within 3 days, with a 3D printing machine. Santhosh was, he was mentioning about that, we were using the prefabricated houses now. That's, I think, being set up in Palakkad. That's a good idea, definitely. But prefabrication also, what you cannot do is you cannot avoid the waste. But in the 3D printing, what is the advantage that you are giving? You are gaining a zero wastage, right? Is that something that, will be able to bring into, Kerala? Is that something, the startup ecosystems or the entrepreneurs can invest in these, 3 lines, which is pressurizing immediate need for, to rebuild the Kerala? I think that would be, awesome. I think having said that, I just would like to, go with the discussion rather than taking more time. Thank you all for the opportunity.
Thank you, the panelists, for presenting some very interesting viewpoints here. I had a question for Mr. John Santhosh on the agriculture. I mean, one of the biggest challenges in terms of implementing it or scaling it is labor. So what can the emerging technologies, and it's pretty primitive still here in agriculture, what can the emerging technologies do in terms of solving that issue?
Agriculture, as you said, is not very high tech still, but there are pockets of success. So I would rather take one example from Mysore, where a 4-acre farm is running largely in the line of thought I was telling here. The land has been first benchmarked to a level where it is. There's an NDVI running on a daily basis on a satellite, and the messages are coming to a monitoring station in Bangalore. The private company is monitoring that. Drip irrigation has been run over there. So the manual labor is reduced to the minimal possible level. So whatever you are doing on harvesting is still something which you cannot completely take away, but at least monitoring and managing can be largely reduced with the introduction of a lot of technologies today. And why I said pockets of success? The entry barrier is still the cost of technology. So if you look at the cost of IoT and putting it over there, if you're not getting the right price for your produce, this becomes a barrier for you. So the balance between the investment to the cost of produce has to be managed. So it's not that every vegetable that you grow or every produce can have the same economic conditions. So certain things work very well in this model, certain things will take more time for the technology cost to come down.
Thank you. So I think there's very less visibility of this kind of innovative concepts here. So maybe TiE or some of the organizations can actually showcase.
I would think so.
Yeah. Showcase this. I think that should be probably an initiative, right?
See, as an organization, Billion Lives, the company one of the companies I run, we have set up the company to touch 1 billion lives in our lifetime. I don't know whether 1 billion lives is a possibility, but we started, as of now, the count is around 60 lakhs. So at least 60 lakh people we have touched one way or other. And we incubated few companies, entrepreneurs, to come up and build solutions in their way. So if TiE is looking at this, this has to be an entrepreneurial initiative for a small farmer technologist. If you call him a farmer, it's a different thing. If you have to call it a farmer technologist entrepreneur in the locality, who has got the technology interventions, who can communicate in the local area, and he becomes a self-sustaining, profitable entity, there's always a possibility of getting the funding for that, including us, maybe one.
Thank you. Yeah, very, very interesting concept. So, Rahul, you talked about the civic startups. So, if you have the time and the resources, and the funding, what will be a civic startup that you will do in Kerala that will be a showcase and a lot of impact can be a model for?
Okay, that's a very difficult question to answer. But there were a couple of places which I really wanted to touch. One of them is the Kudumbasri units, right? Do you know the amount of money each Kudumbasri unit manages every month? That's in thousands actually, nearly 10,000 rupees. Nearly 10,000 rupees is one each Kudumbasri units manages in months, 1 to 2 months. Similarly, the number of Kudumbasri units itself is huge in number. So the amount of money which they circulate, just in cash is huge. No one has actually utilized or, build a tech platform for them which they could leverage and, and benefit out of it, which would make their work easier. Because I've seen my mom, part of this particular thing, is keeping that 10 rupees note, counting it every time. I know they have fun doing that, but it also, there is a sense of fear in her that, okay, what if I lose this money today and it's my responsibility, So there is a ton of things you can do in that space. It's not thought about. Another is, one of the things that the roads, potholes, etc., right? I mean, we always crib about it. But I think we should have a system where, all those GPS-based systems, right? When you see a pothole, you should be able to mark that system as, to be fixed. And that thing should go to the municipality. And if you mark a place, if you identify a place and if you mark it, you should be able to get 1 credit point. And 1 credit point should be equal to 10 rupees or something like that. Similarly, people should be able to make money out of a system like that. And who should pay it? I mean, the municipality should pay it for identifying the pothole. When it's fixed, maybe, again, the revenue stream, I'm not quite sure. We have to think more about it. But again, those are problems which we can solve using technologies, and you can make money out of it. So yeah, so those are the 2 things I can think about it right now, but I haven't thought it much.
Yeah, both are very relevant here right now to Mr. Muralidharan. So one of the biggest obstacle, being an entrepreneur, because the ultimate consumer for the defense, the startups or the companies will be the government. And a lot of people are still, not sure how they will sell to the government or make money out of it ultimately. So is there a model by which companies like Tata or, even somebody like that probably should be playing a much bigger role in promoting this, right? And probably...
It's a very relevant and good question. Thank you for asking that question. So in Tata's, we have realized that if you want to get good technology, it cannot be homegrown. It has to be from an ecosystem like a startup companies. So in fact, recently we have started a culture of investing in startups and sharing their IP and then licensing those IPs from them and then giving them good returns, so that there are young teams who can think out of the box, come with solutions. You publish your problem, they come with a solution, and you, rather than crowdsourcing, source from startups, right? And so this culture is coming up, and this is what the culture is existing in the US with big companies. So the MSMEs who are innovative, coming with novel solutions, they need not sell to the government. They can sell to other good private companies who will compensate them adequately. And they in turn, the big companies can in turn interface with the government and get the those things done in a better manner, because dealing with the government, doing a small project, overheads are too heavy, and the formalities and things are also too heavy. But they don't have to do that. The moment you have a technology, like if you have a company which can do data tagging based on a certain rules that you develop, and you have a special application that you develop, and you can showcase it to a Tata or a Larsen & Toubro or Adani or Reliance Group today, many of them are coming into defense. Okay, they will be able to make good money, from those technologies. Okay, why? Because if I have to go to a US company to buy the small technology, I'll have to pay through my nose. Second, I'll have to share data with them, which the government of India may not allow me, right? So those are the advantages that we have, right? I just forgot to mention about one thing. If you look at the website of Niti Aayog or just Google, there's a hashtag AI for all, artificial intelligence for all. So they have come out with a discussion paper in June 2018, defining 5 key areas where they want to develop AI. One of them being healthcare, education, smart cities and infrastructure, and transportation. See, transportation industry is going to change very heavily. They're all going to become electric vehicles and then associated technologies. They also need newer and newer things. So these are the 5 areas the government of India has identified for inculcating AI in a heavy manner. So they are also asking proposals. They'll come up with funding, etc. So this hashtag AI for all is a big thing. They started June 2018. And what the government says is there's not many responses, okay, from smaller MSME kind of people, right? So that's where the TiE can understand this, disseminate this among the community in Kerala, okay? See, most of us are using Google, but we are not using Google for the right way, right? Probably that may be so we are not focusing our interest on what we want or what is happening. Similarly, on quantum computing, the government is going to give funds. But of course, they may go to research institutes and colleges who can do research on that. But there are many problems that the smaller companies can solve. Okay, so what you said is right. The smaller units, smaller companies, innovative startups or innovative MSMEs need not sell to the government. They can sell to the other private companies who are hungry for this, right? And every private company, like as a Tata group, we are saying that yes, let's not reinvent ourselves. Okay, let's not invent it here. NIH is the big concept in us, not invented here. So if I use 5 things not invented in my company, I'm given extra credit. I get one more increment for my this thing. Okay, so this is how the bigger companies are encouraging to liaise with smaller companies, get technology from them. Because if I have to invent something, I'll first ask for 5 people, big budget, all sort of air-conditioned space, good coffee machine, all of that, which they cannot afford. So if I go and discover a guy who has the solution, right, they compensate me more. Okay, so I'm always on the lookout for somebody who can give me a better solution than what I have and which I need not invent. So this culture is coming up in every big company who is going to go innovative. Okay, so I hope it answers your question. So this is another encouraging thing, but the problem I find is not only in Kerala, in many developed, even in Bombay and Pune, where I have been trying to hunt for these things, very less awareness. Okay, because they're still not used to it. Still people are saying, oh, you will buy AI, this thing from me? I said, yes. Will you be able to pay me regularly? I said, yes, I will license and we'll pay you regularly. I said, if I don't, I can only buy it once from you, right? If I buy it once from you and at the end of life, that is not a thing. I want to continuously buy from you. The technology is not a standstill. Okay? So there are fears about dealing with government, dealing with other people, other companies, but they will go away because everybody needs each other, right? So that should be our attitude. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Touched upon some very interesting areas. I was curious on the first one on the waste management and nanotechnologies. Do you have some more insight into it? Because there's a big problem here. Everybody knows it's a big problem. And it's not getting solved by the conventional means, and it's not likely to get solved by the conventional means. So do you have some more insight into, what?
Right. So in the waste management, what happens right now, there are 2 things that we can do. One is on how do you collect the waste, right? There are, now everybody is doing all these applications and, helping the truck drivers to, send it to the storing locations and all those things. But the problem is how this waste collection can be optimized. Is there a place that I can keep this waste? Look at the localities where each, the neighborhood, can I have a waste bin that compresses things automatically using a solar power or anything? And once it reaches the threshold, then when you say the Internet of Things, what happens is I have the big the chips or the wireless the receiver that sends the signal and then says, okay, this is the threshold value is reached. But when I use the smaller chip, I think yesterday there was one startup in our the technology show. They have a very small, like a 5 mm microcontroller unit, It's like a 5 to 7 mm. It's a very, very, very small one. So if I use Internet of Nano Things, which is the small devices that communicate, that sends the information, and then it do all sorts of the processing from the background. Or it can combine with the edge computing, where within the waste bin itself I have the unit that does all those things with a minimal cost, where the compression happened in the local hood, and at the same time the waste is collected. Now I can send back to my the storage places for all those things. So that's the thing, most of the places it's happening. At Suyati, we worked like 8 years back in a project for a Spanish company, which is a smart city initiative. So what we did is, again, it's a small applications where this is an IoT device that is attached within the bin. When the truck driver, they goes and collect, their society is better, definitely, that we have to agree compared to, what India does. And because of that, the organized way of doing things. So what the truck driver gets the input, okay, this bin is filled or not, if this bin, the bin is full or not. The moment he gets that information, he goes and collects. So the applications from the centralized, to the truck driver, with connected with the IoT device, it optimizes the entire route of collecting the waste. The second one is, after I collecting, how do I store and then reprocess? How do I know? You imagine it's a size. It's like, we are talking about Kerala, just, Ernakulam district alone, it's 100 ton per day. How do you store that without compressing? You just do a land filing. So what it does, it goes into the, the land, and, it creates a lot of things, right? So that's what, we can do.
Maybe we should open up between the panelists, questions based on a couple of questions between ourselves.
Yes, I think I have a question for Murali. I like the idea of, as a startup, I create something and then sell it to, Murali probably, the Tata Power probably. But can I directly sell it to the government? What it stops me to directly sell it to the government? It's probably my...
You're right.
Yeah, that's, I'm just,
Yeah, that's a very good question. Okay, again, a very good question. The government is seeking a lot of things from directly MSMEs. There are small solutions that they need. Okay, it may not be a full weapon system, right? For example, a drone. There are people who develop drones, smaller drones and quadcopters, which are being sold directly. There are smaller companies. The IIT Bombay has an incubation center called Sign, okay, of which I'm a mentor, being an alumnus. So there I encourage them to sell directly to the government, because some of the things I cannot buy because they are not in my area of use. They have sold directly to the government some materials which they have found an innovative way of giving protection to the helmet and things like that. So there are many companies that sell directly. Okay, but the problem with the government is not a manufacturer. Okay, so you cannot sell an idea to them. You have to sell product to them. So if you have the infrastructure to sell a product, yes, they are willing to buy, especially these kind of things, drones and things like that. But most of the startups don't want to continue manufacturing a drone. They want to innovate and come with newer drones. So they sell the technology, IP to a bigger company who was in a process of selling, doing this. The quality control required for defense is very, very exhaustive, right? So those things, a small startup they may not have patience to do that. So that's the only difference. Otherwise, whether you sell to the government or to another company, in fact, a company will pay you better. Okay, that is the answer I was giving to you. But all models work. Okay, it's not that you cannot, you can. But it depends on what you are. If you're selling a part of a missile, you have to sell it to a bigger company because they make the full missile. That's the only difference.
Maybe I can add on. My experience is not from the product side, but from the software side. Okay. We work with the central government and with multiple state governments. The way we manage to work with the government is the criteria for an RFP or a tender is not always favorable for a startup. So we had to create consortiums. So we work with large SIs like KPMG. So we are doing one of the largest schemes of the country, the pregnancy aid scheme, where the government pays 5,000 rupees to every pregnant woman in the country. So far, our technology has disbursed 1,500 crores to around 60 lakh people in this country. But I'm the tech part of the consortium. The front end is KPMG. So KPMG does the management part of it. Right. Consortium couldn't find the tech piece which is needed there, so we plug the piece over there. Similar case in Maharashtra. There's a Maharashtra Village Social Transformation Initiative. A very interesting project where corporates are putting the CSR funds to it. The government has equated the amount. So today there is a 300 crore kitty which has been kept by the by the state government. Using that, they're transforming the lives of people in the villages. This again was a consortium movement where the tech was ours, front end was another technology SI or a consulting company, and that in this case it was Tata Trust. Tata Trust was the front end, we were at the back end. So there are models you can implement, but it needs that structuring properly.
So, any questions from the audience, please?
Thank you for the panel for giving us an insight into like how the emerging tech can be used for the rebuilding. Actually, I have more questions, and also time is very limited, so I'm keeping it very short. And my first question is regarding, so anyone can answer. So regarding the rebuild Kerala, means resilience Kerala also. Thing is that we know the dams play a very important role in the floods, and we have seen that in the recent flood havoc that's happened in our state. So my question is where Kerala stands, or India by itself stands, in the reservoir management systems or watershed management systems, for example, like the flood maps and all. So that system is not in play. So that's a recent study shown. And the next question is to Murali sir. It's regarding the weapon design and development system. And so why can't we have more invest into the R&Ds? Because India lacking very, very far behind in the R&D. So R&D is where the weapon developments, everything starts. So why can't we like invest more into the R&D sector so that we can like have a very innovative products like in a very short duration of time? So duration of time is also very important. So that's one. And the AI into the defense, and yesterday we have a small discussion into that sector also. Oh, isn't it a risky factor? So that's there. And the last one, the waste management system to the Karthikeyan. I think the waste management system should start with every entrepreneur or every company. Like the Nestle started. For every 10 packets of Maggi packets, you will get one Maggi. So like that, we should have like that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So may I take the in-between question answers? Yeah. See, R&D is very critical for defense. The question is who pays for it. The government should pay smaller companies to do development, like the DARPA model. So that is what government of India is trying to do. Now, the other issue is that companies like ours, Tata's, we are also willing to invest in R&D with smaller companies, right? So that they are innovative, we can get it done, I don't want to use the word cheaply, but effectively, right? Because innovation is not there in a systems company. They don't, see many engineers don't read after there's no triple L, no lifelong learning from them, right? Like the suits were saying earlier in the day, they come, 9:30, start doing tell them what they have to do. They don't understand ambiguous things. They do something that is required, told them, and go back. But a startup is not like that. They're always thinking, how can I improve it, right? So the ecosystem of R&D should flow down to the MSMEs or small companies, smaller groups, not more than 25, 50 people. Okay, that's all you need to create a new niche technology. So we should encourage them. The government is encouraging them. Earlier, the R&D recognition was only for bigger companies. Now they're bringing it down to smaller companies. So in the defense itself, if you look at the defense R&D budget of India, it's very high. I'm not allowed to talk about it. There are 50 defense laboratories in the country. And there's one in Kerala too, right? If you know NPOL, Cochin is one of them. Okay, they have a huge budget. There are 49 other such labs in the country, right? They're spending a lot of money, but output is not very good. Why? Because NPOL is NPOL or you name any other DRDO organization is structured. You cannot come in 9 o'clock and say, I will invent a new missile and go at 5 o'clock and say, I have done it. Okay, you need a different motivation, different things. This is world over, right? So then the question comes, why not private companies invest in it? See, today private companies don't want to invest in it because even if you have a good product, the government of India doesn't approve of it. They don't buy it. If I go to the government to say that I got a new gun, they tell me, have you sold it to anybody else? I said, who in the world will buy a gun from me other than you? Okay, so there is this concept of monospony. Monospony means he is the market maker, he is the buyer. But there's an aluminum air gap battery being developed for cars, which will be half the size and double the capacity. Okay, if you look at Science magazine, if you subscribe to that, you can get to know these technologies. So what is the disruption that can happen everybody is waiting for is in battery technology. Okay? The world over, people are spending maximum. Even if I'm a radio communicator, I need a radio or a cell phone, battery is important. Can I have the battery which will last for 3 more WhatsApp applications? Right? So, yeah. So apart from drones, the battery world over technology is changing. That's why they said, okay, the battery technology is not evolving the way it should. So why not use power-aware computing? I consume least amount of power in my algorithms. Can I not use complex algorithms? Can I make a small RISC processor, reduced instruction set processor that consumes least amount of power? Okay. See, earlier every computer processor was going up in gigahertz, right? Okay, 2 gigahertz, 5 gigahertz. After some time they stopped. The heat dissipation was too heavy. The noises were too heavy. Now they're talking about multi-core, right? Now multi-core technology is good for us because the software paradigm changes there. So we can reinvent the software, rediscover software. So battery, sir, is the biggest challenge the world over. And if you look at any university, if you have a proposal for improving the battery, they immediately give you a PhD grant or a postdoctoral this thing, right? And nanotechnologies, yeah. See, one of the technology, sir, one of the technology that has not developed yet is, if you look at a camera, he's a camera, right? This camera size remains ever since I bought my first camera in 1981. The lens is big. If I want to get a good picture, I need a bigger focal length, all big things. So can I get a flat lens? Can I control the focal length electronically? Right? So there are a lot of challenges, and these challenges are open by DARPA, and nobody is able to solve it. So maybe some of us can think about it and mentor it and make it happen. You don't know who will going to come with a solution. So there are many things, if you look around, that has remained same. One is battery, second is the lenses. Can I change its polarization? Can I change its focal length? Everything flat. Imagine the kind of selfies you can take with your cell phone if they are a very good small lens. The camera, the cell phone makers are being small, but quality is not as good, right? But if you have a flat lens, which I can change the focal length electrically or electronically and not moving it physically here and there, okay? This is 100-year-old technology, lens technology, optics, right? So there are so many things that we can look at apart from dam control, which is required for us for sure, okay? There are, this is a world application. So probably we should open up these challenges to our youngsters, startup companies, and like Professor Damodaran said, are we willing to give them some money to look into these areas? They may fail, right? But failure could be one lesson. Okay, one more way of not doing it. Yeah. Add to the list. Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Providing us with knowledgeable insights. I now invite our moderator to present the panelists with the mementos. Thank you.
The picture is more important.